Welcome to the longest turn board gaming podcast. This is episode 42, Hidden Gems Draft, part 2. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the games that we've been playing lately. Then we're going to get into a draft, a follow-on episode. In the last episode, we drafted games between 1,000 and 1,500. In this episode, we're going to do a part 2. We're going to go 1,500 to 2,000.
Even deeper into the hidden gems.
Yes. Right? And arguably, some of them aren't really hidden gems, but they do fall in this range where we feel like they should be ranked a little higher.
Right. Yeah. And they're definitely games that we haven't talked about on the podcast. So they're good games. I think they'll deserve some coverage here.
Yeah, and even in the Discord, there were a number of people from our last episode who chimed in and talked about different games that we hadn't played that I felt like for us were probably true hidden gems that we haven't played and probably ought to get played that are in that area of ranking. And I think there's a lot of games in these ranges between 1,000 and 2,000 that are well worth our time that we just haven't had the time to explore.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see what kind of cheat pick you're going to have again.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. When Dake came up today, somebody brought that up.
I saw that one.
And you were like, I've always wanted to play that one. And it's been right there on my shelf behind Kevin's head.
I mean, that's part of the reason I've liked it.
41 episodes.
I've seen it there before, and you've just never brought that one out.
Okay, well, let's play it sometime.
Let's do it. Let's play it. Just like every time we talk about games and say, let's play it.
We'll watch,
and then we don't play it.
We can watch Last of the Mohicans and then play Wendake.
Yeah.
All right.
It feels thematic, right?
It does. It does. Let's do it.
Moving on.
Let's get to what we've been playing lately.
Let's do it.
So a lot of what I've been playing lately are games that we're going to be talking about on future episodes.
Yes, I as well.
This has been a little bit of a lull in games played lately for me because I've been playing a ton of Undaunted, which we're finally going to do an Undaunted episode. We got Distilled played the other night. That was awesome. We might do an episode for that.
So not going to talk about that one today.
So I'm going to talk about something that I've played a couple times on Board Game Arena. This is Perfect Words from publisher Tiki Editions. They've done games such as Tichu and Lucky Numbers. Yeah, so I think they're a French publisher. The designer on Perfect Words is Paul-Henri Arglot. I don't know.
Nailed it.
And the artist is Christine Alcofe. And this is a fun little cooperative game. Like I said, I've only played it on Board Game Arena, and I've only played it with complete strangers, and somehow we managed to score really well. It is a cooperative crossword puzzle game where there's a market available of different words that are laid out that you can pick from. And you take turns picking one and playing it out on your imaginary grid on the table in front of you to create crossword clues by combining two or more words together next to each other, okay? So if I draft London as one of my cards and I put it out there, the next player might be drafting country if it's available, right? So you're trying to create clues that everyone will get the same answer for. Because once all the clues have been put out and the numbers that are assigned to rows or columns of clues are put out, once all of them are out, then everybody will look at the clues and write down their own answers for each crossword clue. That is, again, a combo of two or more cards next to each other. And so you are awarded points based on how many of you get the same answer for each clue. There's also a double point token that you put out before you actually guess your clues or before you actually score them, where you all decide to put the double pointer on one of the clues that you all think you will get, and then you'll get double points for that or double seashells. And then you also pick one that's not going to get scored and you think you're all going to mess it up or you're all going to get different answers. So basically, you create clues, and then at the end of the game, everybody writes down their answers in secret for each clue, and then you score points based on how many of them are like answers. So really simple cooperative game. I I had fun with this. It's I'm sure it's a little different playing it on the table, but it's not available yet in the US. As far as I can tell, I haven't been able to find it anywhere for pre-order, but it is on Board Game Arena. It's probably an alpha, actually, but really fun game. And I think anybody who likes doing crossword puzzles would enjoy this, especially if they enjoy a lighter cooperative experience with their friends or family.
So when I was first looking at this, and mind you, I looked at a lot of the French pictures of this game, and I was not getting the clues very well because I don't speak French very well.
Imagine that.
But I found some that were in English eventually, and I was looking through this, and at first I thought the grid pattern you were creating was the amount, like each square was the amount of letters that were in the word. And so I thought this game was substantially more difficult, but you're saying essentially that
the number just represents the next number on the list.
Oh, okay. I see. So on your score sheet, you have a pad of paper that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Right?
Yep.
And then you're saying number 1 slot is corresponding with whatever tiles are in the direction of that number. Okay.
Yeah. And once you get number 10 out, I believe, then the game, the play is over, and then you're writing down what you think your answers are. You decide which one you want to score double points and which one you don't want to score at all. And then based on how well you do as a group, based on seashells that get awarded for how many people, based on your player count, get it correct, then it tells you how awesome or terrible you are.
That gives
so
me
it's one of those like just one type games
that's what I was
where
just gonna say.
you score points and then you look at
or whatever.
the scoring ranges and
Okay. Yeah. Not a huge fan of those types of games, but this one looks actually pretty fun. I have to admit, I look at the box and the design and it doesn't really draw me in, right?
No.
But if you're into word games, it looks like it's a really good one to check out. I would definitely play it.
It looks substantially easier than I originally thought it was, because if it was, I had to figure out every space of letter to make a clue for. That was going to be really hard. So this does sound like it has a lot of interesting potential, and it does take a spin from what it sounds like on like the Just One or So Clover types of games, and gives you a different experience with that. Yeah. Yeah.
So there were a couple times where I had choices. You have a choice of 10 words that are laid out, and there were a couple times where I'm looking at the words that are already down and some of the words that were available to me, and I'm like, there's nothing here. And so you just kind of put down a junk word and then hope that that's the clue that everybody votes on not to score. I'm trying to pull up my most recent game, and Board Game Arena is not cooperating. Brown Planet Epoch. I don't think more than 2 people guessed the same thing on that one, but we had one that was like Round Planet Earth. Okay, that's easy, right? I don't know. So
I would argue that generally speaking, most planets are round. So
yeah, Cute Child. I think at least a couple of us got Baby, so we scored some points.
Nice.
I think anybody who enjoys crossword puzzles might enjoy this, because you're creating your own clues that then everybody has to collectively try to get the same
sync
answer.
up on it. Yeah.
That's cool.
And you can discuss. We obviously didn't do that on Board Game Arena, but you can discuss like your clues. You just can't outright say what you're thinking as the answer for that crossword clue that you're creating.
Yeah, I would imagine playing it face to face would be a little bit of a better experience for sure. But hopefully it comes over and you can
I'd play this on
hold
BGA. Send me an invite and I'll play this one with you.
All right. I will do that.
I would play as well.
So that is Perfect Words from Tiki Editions, a French publisher.
So you're talking about perfect words. I'm talking about a maybe perfect game.
Whoa.
Okay,
maybe it's not quite, but it's near there.
That's a large statement.
This one wasn't even your number 1 rated game of all time.
I hadn't played it very much yet at this point.
It could take over.
This is a game I talked about a couple of episodes back in the what we were excited about section. I was excited about Trickerion, Legends of Illusion, because Mind Clash had restocked.
Illusion, Michael.
I was waiting for that. I was assuming at some point there's going to be a Job.
Illusion, Michael. Trick is something else.
But Trickerion Legends of Illusion is a game that was basically a Grail game for me for a long time. And I've slowly over time built up and got all the content. I think there's 2 things I'm missing left in this game. I don't have the promotional bag that you got from the Kickstarter, one of them, and I don't have the promo card. There's a special promo card that I don't have.
I think I have those things.
I have everything but those 2 things.
Just to rub it in.
If I would have known it was your Grail game, I would have told you about the guy in Parker selling games at the theater, and you could have bought it from him instead of me.
I've got it now, mostly.
Okay, sorry.
But it's the game I have wanted to play because I remember, so I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan in movies, and the first Christopher Nolan film that I remember watching was The Prestige.
Yeah.
And I loved that film, and I thought it was an excellently done one. And that came out at the same time as The Illusionist. Edward Norton was the actor in that one. And at that time, I was like, oh, magicians, this is really cool stuff. I like this stuff, and I really liked those. But I remember seeing that and then see this game come out and thinking that is The Prestige in board game form, and I really want to play this. Essentially, so this is a game for 2 to 4 players. It's published by Mind Clash Games, designed by Richard Amon and Victor Peter. It plays it says on the box 60 minutes to 180 minutes.
That's a big range.
Right.
Yeah. I've played solo now, and I've played at 4-player, and I would definitely be on the 180 minute range.
Even solo?
Yeah, even for solo?
Even solo.
I mean, this is the namesake of our game, of our podcast.
Indeed.
The longest term.
Granted, it's harder to gauge the time because I played it over a few nights. I took a couple rounds each time.
So it could have been longer.
It could have maybe been longer. I don't know. But I usually would spend an hour 15 each time I sat down with it. So it was a fair amount of time. But it was also a learning game. It was a long experience, but it plays as you are illusionists in this game, attempting to gain fame and become the most famous illusionist, because the most famous illusionist has just disappeared from the world and has left this riddle for you to become the greatest illusionist by getting his, what is called the Trickerion stone. So you're trying to earn his trick heritage, basically. So you're going through the game and you're advertising, like promoting yourself. You're going through and purchasing materials to build your tricks. You're going downtown to hire different people to help you as specialists or assistants or things that like that to help put together your tricks. You're learning new tricks throughout the game, and you're going and performing those tricks typically. There's a couple of areas on the board. It's a worker placement game where you can go and place a bunch of little discs. Discs represent your workers. And the interesting thing about this as a worker placement is each worker has different abilities, generally speaking. You have your magician, you have specialists, and you have assistants. Specialists can do obviously specialized things. Like one of them can help you perform better. One of them can help you construct tricks better, etc. And so you can hire them to do different things, but each worker spot you have to pre-set up what you're going to do with that worker before you do the placement phase. So essentially what happens is there's an assignment phase in the game where you're choosing between the different locations you can go on the board: downtown, Market Row, Dark Alley, the Performance Theater, or a couple of other spots that you could potentially go depending on if you're playing with expansions. So you're going to these locations, but you have to decide before you place any workers, before any player places any workers, where each worker is going to go. There are a finite number of locations that somebody can go to on the board. So if you're choosing to send multiple workers to, say, like the downtown area where you can hire new assistants and specialists, where you can learn new tricks or gain money,
you could get shut out of spots.
You could easily get shut out of spots because you have to assess, what do I think other players are going to be doing in this game as they're going to those spots, and do I think they're going to do it? So it gives this kind of read the table kind of vibe of what do I need to choose? What do I think other people are going to choose? And how is that going to work?
I feel like that's kind of, in a lot of ways, similar to Anachrony.
Right.
It is, because it's got the same kind of effect of you've got to power up the number of mechs that you would have in Anachrony, right?
Well, and you have specialized workers, right?
And you do have specialized workers.
Yeah.
But the difference is that you're pre-selecting those cards and and they're beholden to it. In Anachrony, there's at least a little bit of wiggle room, because if I power up a mech, I can go and put it on different spots.
And those workers may work better in a spot, but they can go to other spots as well.
They can still go to other spots.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more tight in that it is more confined, so you have to really do it. But you do have more workers in general, usually in Trickerion, I think. It's got some of the dice rolling that's in Anachrony. You can see a lot of the heritage of Trickerion in Anachrony, I think, in the design elements. It's the same designers, essentially, the same design team that did both, so you can get that feel there. But I've really enjoyed it. But essentially, so you assign your workers, they go and they set up the tricks, they buy the materials, do all the things they do, and prepare and learn those tricks. And then at the end of the round, there's a performance phase where you can perform on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. If you perform on Thursday, you get less benefit from going there. And if you perform on Sunday, you get more, an additional benefit. So you're trying to also decide, when am I going to perform and how am I going to perform? There's a lot going into this game. I can't go into it all, but I played the solo version of this game, and it was designed by David Turczi, and I've played a few of his solo variants, and this is another really great design, I think, for this, and I'm really glad that I got to play it. I think I want to play a little bit more of this. The only thing that I think is a problem for me with this game is the length of play, both in the solo and in the multiplayer. It can play a little long. You can shorten the game by playing the side that doesn't have 7 rounds but only has 5 rounds, but that also removes a dark alley kind of variant, which I think really improves the overall experience of the game.
So the question is, right, do you think you will like this one more than Anachrony eventually, right? Anachrony is currently your number 1 game of all time. This one is getting high praise from you. Is it going to overtake Anachrony?
It would have the potential. I just don't see it being tabled as often as Anachrony is the real problem. If I could dive into this and play it and explore it as much as I've dived in and played and explored Anachrony, there is that potential, I think so. But because I don't think it will be tabled nearly as often, I don't think it will, because I think Anachrony is a little bit more approachable in general.
Well, I mean, I love Anachrony, right? And as you're explaining it, there seems to be a lot of similarities between the two. It seems like a game that I would really enjoy to play.
I think you would love it.
So, I mean, I'm all for playing it and getting it to the table. Tyler has, a copy of it as well. So
yeah, I would love to play it. And I think Mind Clash is definitely making a move to get their games on Board Game Arena as well. Yeah. Anachrony is obviously there.
We would have to get it played on the table first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And honestly, after playing it, the first time I played Trickerion, I feel like I had a similar experience to when I played Anachrony the first time, in that I was like, there's a lot going on here and it's hard to understand everything.
Yeah.
Overwhelming is a perfect explanation of what I experienced. But playing Trickerion a second time is similar as well to having played Anachrony a second time, even though I've played Trickerion about a year apart between them. I was like, oh, I remember what's going on from my previous play enough that I can get going and feel it. And it actually all made sense how it goes, because Anachrony does Mind Clash does such a fantastic job, I think, at blending their themes and their mechanisms together, that it makes it almost intuitive once you understand how the system works.
Yeah. Another thing is, Anachrony, I love the table presence of that game. When you set this one up, do you get that similar feel?
You do.
Like the production is just top notch.
It's phenomenal. Granted, Anachrony has a little bit more presence, given the fact that it has those miniatures, the exosuits.
You're slotting the character.
And you're slotting it. But you do get some similar feelings to that. You extend your player board by adding new assistants, and you can add new cards. You get these really gorgeous art cards for your tricks that do different things. You've got floating tables, enchanted butterflies, hellhound tricks, Chinese sticks, like all these different ones that really adds the flavor to what you're doing. You have tricks that are spiritual in nature. You have tricks that are optical in nature or mechanical. And there's one other category that I'm missing, but like they all feel very like thematic to those types of categories that they're in, that yes, you have a very good pull thematically into how this game plays, and it does similar table presence type of experience, I feel, to Anachrony. I do think that Anachrony probably takes the cake on that, though.
There's not many games that are better,
right?
Really. So,
right.
Is there a good how to play video of this?
Yeah, this I think Knights Around the Table has a fantastic how to play video for this. I've watched that one, and the rule book's pretty good for the most part in this. There's some spots that I was a little confused on. I think the solo, I had a couple of questions and I realized I was misplaying a couple things here and there, but I would go back and correct it later. But I thought that Knights Around the Table's video of how to play this was really well done.
So looking at the developer site for Board Game Arena, Trickerion's listed and it says the licenses were granted. However, there's no public project showing. So somebody could be working on it, but it's not being publicly displayed that way. That's got to be a beast to implement with code.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
There's so many moving parts in that game.
But there's other, very complicated games on Board Game Arena. So,
yeah.
I mean, somebody just needs to do it, right?
Well, we need to get it to the table before it gets into alpha so that we can really play this game and really get an experience similar to how we've played Anachrony.
Well, I mean, I've got a game that's completely on the other end of the spectrum from Trickerion. This game is called Patchwork Express. It's not normal patchwork. It's Patchwork Express.
Can you make it any faster?
I have some things to say about this game. Yes, you can slightly. So Patchwork, it's designed by Uwe Rosenberg. Art is done by Clemens Franz. Lookout Games published this one. So there's Patchwork's been around for a while, the original Patchwork. You're making a quilt, right? Patchwork Express came out in 2018, and you are also making a quilt. Same theme. The pieces are a little bit bigger, and there's a few small changes to the game. So the way Patchwork works is you're trying to build a quilt. So you have this grid board in front of you, and then there is a board in the middle. You put your token on there, and then around that board in the middle, you're going to have these Tetris-like pieces that are pieces of your quilt. Okay. First player goes and they have a choice. On your turn, you have one of two choices to make. Either you take your player piece and you move it one space ahead of the other player's player piece. This is a 2-player game, and you get buttons for how many spaces that you move. Buttons are the income in the game and how you purchase more quilt pieces. Okay. Or you can take the money that you have and you can buy a quilt piece. There's a little marker around this circle of pieces, and you have available to you the next 3 pieces in that circle that you can buy. There is a button cost, and then there's also a time cost for that. So if I buy a piece and there is a button cost of 4, I pay 4. And then if there is a time cost of 3, then I move my piece on the central board 3 spaces. Okay. If I am still behind the other person, I get to take another turn. If I land on them, I get to take another turn. As soon as I get to the other side of them, then it is that other player's turn. Okay. Also on this board, there's little buttons. When you pass a button, you get button income. So if you've built quilt pieces on the board and there's buttons on those quilt pieces, then that's the income that you get. So you're trying to build this little income engine by selecting pieces on the board that have this button on them. Okay. That's essentially the whole game. When you get to the center of this board in the middle, the game ends when both players get there. Then you look at your quilt that you've made. You get points for all the buttons that you have at the end of the game, and then you get -2 points for each empty spot that you have on your quilt board. It is possible to go negative. I've gone negative before. This last game I played, I did not go negative, but that is definitely a possibility. But whoever has the most points is the winner at the end of the game. The difference between Patchwork and Patchwork Express, very minimal. You don't have the bonus grid tile, if you guys remember that. So if you get like a 7x7 grid, you get a bonus in original Patchwork. That's not in the Express version. And there's also these blue tiles in the Express version where they're a little bit of a different shape. They're a little bit smaller and easier to fit into your quilt. They aren't available to start the game. They show up when there's 5 pieces left on the board in the middle in that circle. Then you put them at the end of the line and you can get them later. Okay. So it's probably a little bit easier to build your quilt in this version. The game is probably a little bit faster, but it is not different enough, in my opinion, to need to own both. And it's kind of confusing to me, right? It's like who is asking for this?
An Express version
of Patchwork, right?
Right.
It's just a little bit confusing. I mean, I played it with my 10-year-old. It was probably a little easier to play this version than the normal version, but she would have been completely fine with the normal version as well.
The normal one takes like 15 minutes to play. How do you get more Express than that?
And this new version, Express, is a little bit more compact, it seems, maybe?
Yeah, I think the pieces are a little bit bigger. I haven't compared the two, but I think the board probably fills up a little bit quicker. So it's probably a little bit quicker of a game.
But like travelability, like
it's the same size.
Okay, so
it's exactly the same size. So looking on Board Game Geek, it's a 10-minute play time.
Shaved off 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a third of the game time. So.
Yeah. I mean, they're shaving off a lot here. I mean, I don't know. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. You don't need both, though.
But you already enjoy Patchwork, so of course you're going to enjoy
on my
this.
shelf, I have Patchwork Express, and I'm like...
Do you have the Americana one, and the Halloween one, and the Christmas one?
No, I don't, because that just seems... I mean, if you're collecting them, I guess that's one thing, but yeah, I don't know.
Maybe those are more different than Express. You don't know.
Maybe I should try them.
Yeah.
They're in my cart now. I'm going to click checkout.
We have talked about Patchwork before.
Yeah?
Do you guys remember when?
Vaguely, but I don't know.
Episode 21, top 5 games that need to be movies. This was my
you talked about
Midwest crochet
you make a quilt out of
people
or something.
Yeah,
undersea.
It was a horror film, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think.
I think I forgot that on purpose.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, we talked about Patchwork back then. Episode 21. Check it out.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, this one's not a recommend really for me. I guess it's a recommend if you want to. Patchwork is a fun game. I really enjoy Patchwork. Mm-hmm. So pick one or the other.
But if you don't have 15 minutes and you only have 10 minutes, this is the one to do.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. So fun time. I had a good time with my daughter. I'm sure we'll play it again. And as my youngest one gets older, I'll probably introduce that one to her eventually as well. So
I like Patchwork. I think once I played Nova Luna, which has a similar drafting around the circle tile thing.
Right.
I don't know that I'll go back to Patchwork. I do have a copy of it. But
Nova Luna is a better game.
And it plays more players.
It does. It's not just a 2-player game.
Yeah.
It's a different feel for me. I mean, Patchwork is just a very relaxed game.
Yeah.
You're trying to build a quilt. You're trying to maximize how you do that. It's it's quick. It can be 10 minutes if you play the Express version. So, I still think it deserves a place on my shelf, but I do think Nova Luna is a better game for sure.
I think between Patchwork and Patchwork Express sounds more like the horror film. I could see.
I don't know that it was a horror film, was it?
I think it was a horror film.
I'll have to go back and listen to it.
I think so. Weren't all of yours horror films?
I thought
a couple of them were.
You made a lampshade out of somebody.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
That was for Dwellings of Eldervale, I think, though.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe Patchwork wasn't a horror.
Yeah.
Regardless, it was very
it was a dark comedy, I think.
Yeah.
Because it had Catherine O'Hare with a knitting needle in it, and
Kathy Bates.
Yes.
Yeah. She was one of the leaders of the rival squads of There was the quilters versus the crocheters, I think.
Oh, that's right. That episode got weird.
Yeah, it did. It was awesome.
No, it was. Yeah.
We should do
So,
another one of those.
We should. And if any listeners haven't listened to that episode, I think it's worth a listen. Go back and check that one out.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, it was fun. So back to my game, Patchwork Express.
Really lengthy game of 10 minutes.
Really lengthy game of 10 minutes. Go check it out if it sounds interesting to you.
Speaking of really lengthy things, for untold eons, the mortal races lived in separate planes, unaware of other worlds beyond their own. But now the dragon god Azima forges a new world by opening rifts to other planes. Dawn of Ulos.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I've talked about this game a number of times in anticipation of it being fulfilled. I heard about it last year at Origins. Really excited. It finally fulfilled. Amazing quality. It's from Thunderworks Games. It's designed by Jason Lentz, and the artist is Diego Sa. Fantastic game. Okay. And I've said it before, there's some definite inspiration from Acquire for this game. You're playing as gods who are adding factions to this world, and you're investing in them and making them grow bigger and fight each other, and you're trying to be the best god. So
Sounds good.
yeah, I don't even care. The cool thing is it takes place in the role player world. Okay. So, the imagery, the same production quality that you expect from Thunderworks is there. There's very familiar art that looks like it belongs in role player or cartographers or any other game of that ilk. So in this game, and it's a little different than Acquire. So Acquire, you have this grid of numbers and letters, and you draw a tile, 6 tiles, and you play one onto the board. Its corresponding slot. You have a little more freedom in Dawn of Ulos. So there are 5 different terrains and then also water terrain, and you draw these tiles that have different terrain types on them, and it's just a little 2 hexes connected to each other cardboard tile. And so based on what terrains you have, you can put those anywhere on the map that match the terrain that you're covering up. So you have a little more freedom with your tiles and where you can place them. As you add tiles to the board, you are potentially doing a number of things. You are creating a new faction or a new faction camp. You might be growing an existing one, or you might initiate a conflict between 2 camps when you link them together, at which point you would have a conflict. In Acquire terms, that's when you merge your hotels. And here's one of the biggest differences in Dawn of Ulos from Acquire is that you get to bid cards to add to the strength of each camp or whichever one you want to win. The winning camp will stay on the board and the other ones will be dissolved into it, and they will lose power, and their factions will no longer be available to buy their stock. It's got a completely different feel to it when it comes to the conflicts. There's some very interesting things going on there that I still want to explore more. There's a couple other of main differences. In Acquire, the hotels are all the same. They have, except for there's a few different pricing tiers where they have different values. In Dawn of Ulos, there are 10 possible factions, and you select 5 of them to play with at the beginning of the game. And they have different abilities. Cards in Acquire don't have abilities. The stock doesn't have abilities. In Dawn of Ulos, each faction has a unique ability, and on your turn, if you choose to play one of those cards, not only are you cashing it out for its current sell value, but you also get to take the action, which is a fantastic idea because in Acquire, there are times where people run out of money early on in the game or midway through the game, and then they're just stuck not being able to buy or do anything that they need to, and it can make for a miserable experience for a number of rounds until something gets merged that will give them money.
Back them.
In Dawn of Ulos, you can always play one of your action cards and sell it back and get money, a money influx that you need. So there's some interesting things going on in Dawn of Ulos. I really enjoyed it. The first game that I played was with a couple of friends, Matt and Greg, and I was still kind of figuring out the stock value and how things change. And Greg made an awesome play on his last turn. He devalued one of my factions that I had the majority in by using one of the other faction abilities. And he ended up winning. And it was kind of like, whoa, that was awesome. Like I didn't see that coming. I don't know. I love Acquire. I've played it probably hundreds of times. This game belongs on my shelf next to Acquire. It doesn't replace it. I don't have enough of a sample of playing it to say, oh, it's better than Acquire, but that's a steep hill to climb, but it definitely belongs on my shelf next to Acquire.
It sounds like it's a modernized version of Acquire, right? So games have changed a lot, obviously, since
Absolutely.
Acquire came out, right? So it sounds like it's an updated version with today's design sensibilities, right?
Yeah.
Which I agree with, but I mean, Sid Saxon of himself was ahead of his time. And
He was.
Oh, yeah.
Acquire and all of his other games, Can't Stop is a good example of that as well, were ahead of their time. Can't Stop Express was like the first roll and write, really. And like, I think that his designs belong in this era of games, and
They
still
stand on their own for sure.
But this game absolutely sounds like it takes what was there and improves on the things that weren't there. You mentioned, Tyler, the you can get stuck in Acquire with the money. I've had that happen, and yet you do just have to sit there until something happens to impact your stock, and then you get some return. But by that point, you've oftentimes gotten too far behind. So there are absolutely things to improve. So this sounds exactly like it takes that and improves that and makes it so that perhaps less experienced people with the game can still have a chance even when they make a mistake.
Yeah.
Acquire can be a little unforgiving when you make a mistake.
And I think in general, games now that are designed now are more forgiving games, right? They don't beat you down necessarily as much as some of the older designs may do. It doesn't mean those games are bad by any stretch of the imagination.
You're forgetting Imperial Steam, though.
I said generally, right? There are some
I didn't feel beat
outliers
down at
for
all
sure.
in that game.
Yeah, you should have, because you were doing excellently.
Because you were 200 or 300 points ahead of us.
I do think it is really interesting, and I lightly touched on this, but in Acquire, when you merge hotels, the largest one stays, no matter what. In Dawn of Ulos, you have this like bluffing bidding action when a conflict is initiated where you contribute cards, you'll lose them, but you contribute those cards to the strength of the faction that you want to win, or you could be bluffing with a hand of cards that comes back to your stock pile afterwards. But really interesting things going on there. And there's times where I'm like, I'm not even sure if I want this to be merged or not, or to lose this conflict. I'm not sure if I want to win it. The faction power or the size of the camp fluctuates pretty heavily depending on those outcomes. So it's very interesting.
I saw you playing this with Greg and Matt and saw the end result, and it was looking at it, listening to your experiences with it. I was and liking Acquire as well. It was one that I really want to experience. The one thing that I did notice when I looked at the board, one, it was gorgeous, but the thing that stood out to me was those little faction pieces, perhaps, the little miniatures, the camps, were a little bit hard to tell to whom they belonged, like to which factions they belong.
Yeah, they need
and
to
I
be
felt like
painted,
they had to be painted to really get it for somebody who doesn't understand. But they had parts of them that clearly show you the pieces once you understand what's going on with the game.
Yeah, it wasn't an issue at all for me, but I do want to paint them. It is interesting too. They have different layouts for so they're 3 tiles big. And some of them are 3 hexes touching each other. Some of them are a row of 3 hexes. So depending on how you add the tiles kind of determines which artifactions you can also add to the board when you are creating a camp based on what the shape is.
Yeah. I remember I was there when you first found out about this game at Origins.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to hug the Thunderworks guy.
Yeah.
Right?
I was like,
you were like,
I told him
beyond excited.
Yeah.
Right?
I was like, I want to hug you, dude. Or I don't know. It was Keith Mateka, I think.
Yeah, it was. And I'm glad it didn't disappoint when you finally played it. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited to get it to the table more. Definitely want to get some more plays.
And there was a card or some sort of component in there that had some homage to acquire in it, right? Like
on the board it talks, or on the back of the box, I think, or maybe in the rules it talks about acquiring cards or something.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, I see what you're doing there. I even commented on the Kickstarter when I saw that, and the designer he responded. He was like, yes, I was hoping somebody would see that.
Yeah.
Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So that's Dawn of Ulos. And just while we're talking about Thunderworks, they currently have a Stone Spine Architects Kickstarter going on right now. So check that out.
Very nice.
So that wraps up what we've been playing lately as far as the things that we can talk about for this episode. We'll talk more about Undaunted and Distilled in later episodes. But let's talk about some games that continue from our last episode. Let's talk about hidden gems in the range of 1,500 to 2,000 on BGG.
On BGG, right. And some of these may not be hidden gems
per se,
but they do fall in that range. I think some of them we'll talk about are definitely hidden gems that maybe you haven't heard of, but not all of them.
I mean, are we talking about Tyson's picks? Because
I'm prepared for Tyson to have no hidden gems in any of his picks, but we'll see.
I think if we look at last episode, 4 out of 5 of mine were way more hidden gems.
All right, Mr. Arkham Horror.
Yeah.
I did have one that was blatantly not a hidden gem.
Right.
But I think that the majority of mine were hidden gems. I think that's going to be the case here too. So we've rolled some dice.
We did, and
to determine who goes first.
I'm the lucky winner. Good and bad. I get to go first, but we're doing a snake draft, right? So it's going to be a while till it gets back to me. So I will go ahead and start and make my first pick. I know everybody's on the edge of their seat, right? So this is probably one. It may be on your guys' list. I don't know for sure. This one is designed by Sebastian Dujardin, I believe is how you pronounce that. Javier Jorges and Alain Orban. It is ranked 1628, and it is Trois Dice.
Oh.
Okay.
On my list.
On your list. All right.
Not mine.
Trois Dice is a fantastic game. I mean, I love Trois. It has its issues, I think, at times. But I think it's a wonderful game I've had for a long time. I've been playing for a long time. Trois Dice is a dice version of that game. It's a roll and write. I won't go into exactly how it plays, but what I really enjoy about this game is how you can manipulate the dice rolls, right? So you have influence that you can spend to change the value of the dice that gets rolled. You can change the color. Color is very important in this game. You can change the color by spending knowledge. So you have these dice that are really cool. Some of them are clear. There's a disaster die that you roll that's black. You roll these dice, and then there's a circle that you place them around. And on this circle, there are different colored discs. They're either white, yellow, or red. And the dice are clear. So you roll them, and from lowest to highest, you place them around this circle. There's a summer or a day and then a night side of this circle. And then you're selecting the die, and everybody does it at the same time. You can play, solo in this game, or you can play as many people as you want in this game, right? It's like a typical roll and write. But like I said, you can manipulate these dice to do cool things. You feel smart when you're playing. It's just, I think, a really good version of Trois, and I think it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't checked it out.
So. This is a fantastic pick. I love this game.
Yeah. You sound like you're being sarcastic, but
he's not.
I'm not.
Because
I really enjoy that.
Because you actually put it.
And anybody that doesn't like Trois,
they might be sensitive to the pick or
sensitive
to the game itself.
The original game Trois, right?
Oh,
when people have a bad experience, like
We've had some bad experiences.
We have.
Not myself, but Tyler and I have been playing in games where there's some people who didn't really have a very good time.
And there was some rejection of the rules that were taught.
Forceful rejection.
Yeah, like one of them was maybe, I don't know. I don't remember the situation completely, but Trois is a fantastic game, and Trois Dice, I feel like, captures a similar experience that makes you feel like you're in medieval France.
In a little bit. In a different
really,
gameplay, but it's kind of, you get the same. It definitely has the same art. So the art kind of pulls you in, and it's very similar art. But I mean, that's my first pick, Trois Dice.
It's not one that I've played very much, but I think it's a good one. However, it was not on my list. I think I'm going to pick one that might be on some other lists here. And I'm going to pick this. I'm going back and forth because this isn't really a hidden gem. And I'm debating whether I take it or not because of all the flack everybody's given me. But I'm going to choose it anyway. It's Love Letter, Jabba's Palace. This is
on my list,
ranked 1,515. Obviously, the Love Letter system is... there's a lot of versions of this one. So it may not qualify in the hidden gems because there's a lot of versions of it. And Love Letter itself is ranked pretty high. I can't remember the actual ranking off the top of my head, but I think it's close to the top 100, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I'm going to check it.
316.
Oh,
it's pretty high.
So Love Letter is ranked 316. So obviously it's a well-known, appreciated game. I think, though, this one is different. Out of all the Love Letters, I think that there's some things that this does a little bit differently with the zero card in this game.
Han Solo.
Being
which is
Han
awesome.
Solo. He's frozen in carbonite and he can't do anything, but it adds a little bit of a different variety to this game, I think, than any of the other Love Letters. I love Love Letter, and I think it is a great system altogether, but I think that this one really has some interesting takes. When we played this...
We played it wrong.
Did we play it wrong?
Mm-hmm.
How did we play it wrong?
So we were removing one card for the whole game. You're supposed to remove one per round, just like all the other Love Letter games.
But the rules specifically said...
We went back and forth on that.
We looked at the rules, and it seemed pretty clear from the rules that you remove it for the whole game.
So I played this with Jason at Origins a few nights, or one of the nights we played a few games in the hotel, and it read completely different to me than what we had played before.
Interesting.
Which is the normal way that they're playing.
Right, which seemed weird to me when we played it that way.
Yeah.
It did, because that's different than any other version of Love Letter, and so we thought that was a weird way to play that.
We misread it.
We played, that was the Hobbit version that we played, that I think we played that
I thought
way.
it was the Star Wars one.
That way. No, I'm pretty sure it was the Hobbit. I don't forget I forget the exact name of it, but it was the Hobbit version.
Love Letter, The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies.
Yes.
I don't have it pulled up or anything.
It's a typical Lord of the Rings game where it has 8 different titles.
Yeah, right. I'm pretty sure that was the one that we played, but maybe.
In each round, each player starts with only one card in hand. One card is removed from play. And this is from the Love Letter Hobbit one. So whichever one it was, I think we played it wrong.
I think we probably did too, but I think the rules in that one are a little bit more ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, funny fact.
Yeah.
The Batman Love Letter makes reference to the Penguin, and he is not in the game, but the rules mention Penguin.
So clearly there's some issues with rules in Love Letter games.
Proofing that needs to be done before some of these are fully vetted.
But one thing that I love about the Jabba version of Love Letter, though, is the agenda cards. And I don't know if you were going to bring those up or not, right? So it just changes the win condition completely. From other Love Letter games that I played, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, like some of those are Jabba's Court has the highest sum of a certain faction in play. There's different types of factions in this. The highest sum of a faction in play area wins the round. Then there's another one that is like Exalted One. Highest number in hand wins the round. So it just changes up how the win condition works in this game, which is different. I think that I would say that it's not the most different Love Letter. I think that would be Lovecraft Letter.
Yeah,
but I
sure.
think that this is of like the stereotypical base mechanics of Love Letter. This is the most different of those. The cloth bag versions of Love Letter, anyway, that Tyler is so fond of.
I love games in bags.
Oh, it's the worst.
You can stack them so easily.
I do have like a photo case thing where it holds multiple smaller cases for photos, and that's where all my love letters are in those cases.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, that's going to be my first draft pick is Jabba's Palace Love Letter.
Okay, well, that was on my list, and since you took that one, I'm taking Love Letter, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. Comes in at 1766. If you can find this game, then buy it. It is hard to find, along with the Batman one. Another fantastic IP-themed love letter. I love Lord of the Rings. This one has the Arkenstone in it, which you can't discard. If you do, then you lose, I believe. And if you have the One Ring, it doesn't do anything while you're playing, but it counts as a 7 if you make it to the end of the round. It's Lord of the Rings love letter. So what's not to like about that?
It's awesome. Yeah. I had a ton of fun playing this one.
I would say it doesn't change up the game as much as the Star Wars or the Lovecraft letter. Yeah. So, but fantastic game. Love the art. Love Bilbo Baggins on the cover of the box. Actually, the cover of the rules, because it comes in a bag as well.
It pulls the IP imagery in from the movie, which is fine. It's good. It wasn't on my list because Jabba's Palace was on my list.
Yeah, you took that. So
and I felt like we covered the
threes
love
are
letter
different in The Hobbit. There's Tariel and Legolas.
I was just going to bring
slightly
that up.
different.
Yeah, where you're comparing either whoever has the higher one or whoever has the lower one, which I think is awesome.
It is awesome.
Interesting.
And one time I remember we were playing at game night, and I played the wrong one thinking I was playing the right one, and everybody laughed at me. And
Well, you probably deserved it.
I probably did. We were... Yeah, that was funny.
That night, that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Love Letter, The Hobbit, Battle of Five Armies, and so on and so on and so on, ranked 1766.
Good pick.
Oh, it's back to me.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
That's how this works.
You again.
So my next pick, I don't think either of you have this on your list because I don't think either of you have played it. But it comes in at 1703. It is designed by David Spada and Daniela Tassini. It is in the T-Game series from Board and Dice. It is Tabanusi Builders of Ur. Another unique use of dice in a T-game. This is the one that came out right before Toledum, I think. It came out in 2021. You're building the great ancient city of Ur. There are different regions that are tied to specific colored dice, and you are moving your dice around. The die itself becomes a resource of its color, and the value of the die determines which district or which region your worker will activate next on the following turn. So another great use of dice. It's got all the same end of round scoring, end of game scoring, dice selection, dice placement, action selection. There's tracks, just like in Teotihuacan. Fantastic T game that I feel like kind of fell under the radar as far as the T games go. So that is my second pick, Tabanusi Builders of Ur.
I like it. Good one.
Not on either of yours.
Not on my list.
Just because I haven't played it, but I'm interested in all the T games. I would like to play it for sure.
I think that qualifies for a lot of the games in this range. Is that there's probably a lot more that would be on my list because there's a lot of really good looking games in here that I haven't played that I've wanted to play in this range. But one of the games that I have played that I like is ranked 1,610. It is After the Empire.
Knew it.
I wasn't sure if you were going to pick this one or not, Kevin. So
It was on my short list.
So I figured I'd put it on there just before. We've talked about this game. We Kevin and I got to play this game fairly recently, within the last several episodes, I think. Maybe not quite that recent, but we've played it. And After the Empire is designed by Evan Halbert and Ryan Mauk. It's published by Grey Fox Games, and essentially it is a tower defense style game, but competitive. Everybody has their own towers, essentially, that they're building up and trying to make the walls strong with these really fun little 3D pieces. And you're trying to ensure that when you're attacked, that you cannot get sacked, that you're trying not to get stuff taken from you so that you can have the most points and succeed. The game that we played was a very punishing game of this, but I played it and it hasn't been quite so punishing. And there's a lot I think I really enjoy about this game. The different systems that work together, the
cards and the direction and how you turn them and you shuffle and spin. And that's pretty cool.
And then you can buy different building parts and buy different worker types. I can't remember what those are called specifically, but
the toy value of the pieces is crazy.
I think this is a really fun game. And it's interesting to me because this game has had multiple printings at this point. It has had 2 Kickstarters at this point. And I don't know that I hear this one talked about nearly as much as I think it deserves to be talked about, because I think it has a lot of fun parts to it. And it does stuff that yes, it is a worker placement game, and that's not all that new. But the tower defense competitive side of this game is something
unique.
I haven't seen before, and I really like that, because you're not working against each other as a team, because you're collectively trying to fend off the same types of attacks, but you're trying to see who does it best. And I think that's an interesting take on that kind of a mechanic.
Nice.
So I like this one a lot. That's my number 2 draft pick after the Empire.
Okay. My number 2. This game should not be as fun as it actually is.
Llama.
That is Llama. Exactly. This is ranked 1,775.
I must have missed this.
Designed by Reiner Knizia, published by Amigo and a bunch of other publishers. This game has like 2 choices, maybe 2.5 choices when you play it.
Which
right?
is, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of decisions to make, right? So you have cards that are from 1 to 6, and then you have llama cards. You shuffle all these together, everybody gets a hand of cards, and then you flip over the top card of the deck. Your choice is you can pass, okay, or you can play a card. You play a card that's equal to the number or one higher than the number. So it's a ladder style game. Tyler loves ladder games.
Yep, my favorite.
There is his favorite
die for.
favorite type of game.
This one.
You're playing consecutively higher numbers, right? And then you get to llama and you can reset back to 1, right? So you're trying to get rid of all of your cards. If you get rid of all of your cards, then you can get rid of a token that you have collected on a previous turn. There are white tokens that are 1 point. There are black tokens that are 10 points. If you don't get rid of all your cards, you add up the point value of your cards, and you take tokens equal to that point value. As soon as somebody gets to 40 points, the game is over, and whoever has the least amount of points is the winner. Super easy game. The weight is 1.05 on BGG. Very light. I'm gonna have to look and see if coconuts is heavier than this game. It's super, super easy, super light, but really fun. And I've had such a great time playing this with my family. We've talked about the Cabin Con episode where Tyson and Ben and myself played, and it was so fun.
It was just raucous good time.
It was
just.
It could have been sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Maybe we were tired, but we were having such a good time with this game. It was
part
a
of it
blast.
was all the bad luck seemed to happen to Ben in that game.
Yeah, right.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing because, like you said, Kevin, there's only a few decisions in this game to make.
Yeah.
So the fact that so consistently bad luck was happening was sheer random luck, and it was just hilarious in its own right. And I think this game has a lot to like for the weight that it is and the play time that it has. It's a good game to just break out and play quickly if you have the time.
Yeah, definitely a party style game, right? So that's my number 2 pick, Llama.
Nice.
My number 3 pick, it is, this is funny. Now it's funny to look at the weight of these games. This has a weight of 1.02. It barely squeaks in just under 2,000. It is ranked 1997.
Hold on.
1,997.
Yep, it's on my short list.
Yeah. And that is Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. This is published by Dolphin Hat Games. I've been playing this game for years with my family. It's another party style game, right? We've talked about it on the podcast quite a bit. But you have cards. It's a deck of cards. There are pictures of a taco, a cat, a goat, cheese, pizza. And then there are 3 cards that are action cards. There's a gorilla, narwhal, and I think a groundhog, right? So shuffle up all these cards, you deal out the whole deck to all the players, and then you have this face-down deck in front of you. In turn order, you flip over a card, and at the same time you flip over a card, you say in order, taco, and then the next person will say cat, and then goat, cheese, pizza in order. If at any time you flip over a card that matches what you are saying, everybody slaps the pile of cards in front of you, and whoever slaps the pile last gets to take the whole pile of cards. You're trying to get rid of all of your cards. If at any time one of the action cards comes up, there are actions associated with those cards. If it's a gorilla, you pound your chest and then you slap the table. If it's a narwhal, this is the most dangerous action in the game. You slap your hands above your head and then you slap the pile.
Full force. Speed.
Blood is likely.
Yeah, there has been blood. There's been a few tears in my family, jammed fingers. The last action is groundhog, where you're pounding the table with your knuckles. And I always come away with not necessarily bloody knuckles, but bruised knuckles playing after I play the game. It's just dumb fun. That's all it is. We have a blast and everybody's laughing when we're playing the game. So this is one of our favorites to play as a family. Comes in at 1,997. That's Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza.
Nice.
So I'm going to move away from the lighter fare games a little bit. And yours was like a 1.07 or whatever weight for Taco Cat Goat Cheese.
1.02.
1.02. Mine is 2.78. So it's not the heaviest game,
That's
but it's right
up
in
there,
the middle.
though.
It's a heavier game. This is a game. We were talking about IPs. This is a game based off of an IP. It's ranked 1,731. It's the Expanse board game. Okay. So if you've seen the sci-fi television show that I believe was picked up by Amazon as well of the same name, The Expanse, that's what this game is. I've read the book, Leviathan Wakes, the first one. It's a book series that was turned into a TV series that's now been turned into a board game. The BGG entry says The Expanse, a board game based on the sci-fi television series of the same name, focuses on politics, conquest, and intrigue, similar to the board game Twilight Struggle. So that right off the bat
High
caught
praise.
my eyes,
Yeah.
right? Like now, granted, this is made by the publisher. Its publisher is WizKids, and I like a lot of the games that WizKids does. WizKids, though, tends to, with their board game, Sidereal Confluence would be one example of that, does not produce the best looking board games, but their mechanisms and the gameplay often is something that I've enjoyed in a lot of their things. And that's the same here with The Expanse.
It's a little bland.
It looks really bland. It's designed by Jeff Engelstein, who I think is a great designer and has done a lot of fun things. And he was the creator and host of the podcast Ludology for a long time. He, I think, has done a lot of really good things. But this game, essentially what it is it's an action selection kind of a game where you have cards that you can do various different actions with. Each round, players are going to select a card from an action track to either use or they can save an event, essentially. These cards allow you to do different things, move, build fleets, move around on the board and control and intrigue and politic type of events. It's got a little bit of an area control kind of a vibe to it. So if you've seen the show or read the book, you know that there is the inner planets that are kind of out at war with the belt and with the outer planets. So there's 3 different types of factions really in this. And then there's also the, I can never say this name right. The ship, the Rocinante, is also a part of this game. In it, you're trying to control these factions and control how they're operating. Each one has different things, like Earth faction and the inner planets are more wealthy and well-rounded, but they have lesser control of places like the Belt. The Belt has lots of resource control over the water, while the outer planets have lesser control, but have good military kind of might and things like that. So there's a lot of these things going on, and you're playing this game. I've only played this game once, and it was right around the time it came out. It came out in 2017. I remember thinking then that this game is really well done. It needs a a second edition that revises the presentation because it doesn't get enough. And I've been tempted a number of times to purchase this game and pick it up because I had such a good time with it the first time. And unlike Twilight Struggle, this one plays 2 to 4 players, so you can play it with a whole group of people as opposed to a 2-player only game. So I feel like I would get this one played a lot more. But that's my third draft pick. The Expanse board game.
Nice.
All right, for my next pick, this one might surprise you guys. This one is number 1647, Beyond Balderdash, baby.
Wow.
Not baby. Just
Balderdash.
Beyond Balderdash, yes.
Yeah, it's just a different version.
Cool. So in 1993, this version came out. If you've never played Balderdash, you have a word clue that whoever is current person's turn will read out a word, and then everybody else will come up with definitions for the word that are fake. And then you get points based on it's the apples to apples type thing, right? But this is before apples to apples. You get points based on how many people guess your definition for the real word, and then the person whose turn it is gets points if people guess the real word definition. Okay. And Beyond Balderdash, it adds some categories like movies, has you make up a plot, dates, you say what happened on that date, people, you say what the person did, or there's acronyms that you get to make up what they stand for. I love this game because we used to play this as a family growing up, and I grew up in a very creative family, and there were lots of personalities, and there were just always hilarious definitions for these words and for these situations. So that is why I picked Beyond Balderdash. Just those memories and sitting around as a family playing and just laughing at some of the most outrageous definitions that we could come up with. It is really fun when you can give the real definition or real answer as a fake definition. I remember one time playing this and the word was boomslang or boomslang. And I was like, oh, that's a tree snake, because that's what it is in Dutch and in Afrikaans. And so I wrote down tree snake, and the real definition was like a South African tree snake. And I was like, boom, nailed it. So I don't know. There's every once in a while, and the words are very obscure, and in Beyond Balderdash, very obscure dates and movies that you make up plots for. But every once in a while, you do know what the word is or what the event or whatever is. And that's a lot of fun too, but lots of great memories. So that is my third pick, Beyond Balderdash.
Nice.
Have you guys played this at all?
I've not played it.
No,
Nope.
I've never
This
even
is
heard.
right up your party game alley.
Oh, I love party games. Some of them. No, it does sound fun. I'd give it a shot.
I might even have a copy of it somewhere.
That was before I knew you had a copy of it.
I really like that you said that Beyond Balderdash took the apples to apples mechanic before apples to apples did.
Oh,
but
was I
really,
wrong?
no, I have no idea. But my point is that mechanic has been used so many times that I don't even know who started with that mechanic. Cards Against Humanity, Joking Hazard, Apples to Apples. Basically every party game that exists in Target.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that use that. That's possibly one of the most overused mechanisms.
Very popular.
So Apples to Apples, 99. Balderdash, the original, was 84.
Oh.
So
Yeah, but that's the original. What about Beyond?
93.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, same mechanic, but
Yeah.
Right.
so yeah, that's Balderdash. My third pick, right?
Good pick.
Okay. I'm going to surprise you guys with this one as well.
Yet again, another surprise.
We've played this one.
Is it Beyond Taboo?
Does that exist?
No, but I thought that.
No. Okay.
Good. I don't know.
We played this all the way back in our train episode. We played a bunch of train games.
I know what this is. It's the hobos.
That is surprising.
The hobos.
It's got the hobos.
almost-
Yes.
I
Okay.
looked at it.
So one of the nights we played all three games that were in the Capstone Iron Rail series.
That was a fun night.
It
That was
a
cool.
fun night. There's Irish Gauge, Ride the Rails, and Iberian Gauge.
Right.
They're about to kickstart their fourth one. I believe it's South Africa.
African Rails or something.
South Africa, Age of Rail. Yeah.
No desire to back that one, but
No, but it does have the beautiful Ian O'Toole
It's
art.
gorgeous.
no,
Yeah.
the,
And
all
it
those
looks
games,
amazing.
All those games did the look of them really drew me in. They're
Yep.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, of the three that we played, Ride the Rails was my favorite. So you're building out
Agreed.
a network of rails. You're expanding from east to west. I feel like all three of them had a little bit of king making in them, but I loved some of the decisions of, do I want to build this rail and then somebody else can build off of it and connect to a city and collect a bonus? Or I don't know. There were some good decisions there. And I love the fact that you are delivering hobos gradually further west in this game.
That is not endorsed by the publisher.
Not entirely hobos. I think Tyler gave them the name hobos, but yes.
It felt thematically perfect.
It did feel like a bunch of hop-ons, right?
It did.
People who
Right.
were hopping on.
They were
and off
hopping on and hopping off.
It did have that vibe.
Very
to it.
hobo-like action.
But I believe in the rules.
That is hobo behavior.
They are passengers.
They are passengers.
So
Yes,
they're paying
yes.
passengers.
Yeah, that's true. To be just technically correct, yes.
Yeah, so this one has I love the color orange. The palette that Ian O'Toole used for this one is orange. Tyson, you're the one that owns this, right?
I do, and I have the Australian map for this one as well that we haven't played. I don't think.
So hobos from down under.
Yeah. Yeah. Good eye, mate.
All right, we got to get it played again.
All right. So yeah, the designer is John Borer, and artist of the revamped version is Ian O'Toole, published by Capstone Games. This comes in at $16.49.
Nice. Good pick. I like it.
That is good. I looked at that one and I had considered it, but then I opted not to go with it in favor of one that I like, that I feel is a true hidden gem that doesn't get played enough, one that I knew wouldn't be on either of your lists because it's a social deduction game.
Fair enough.
Correct.
It is Salem 1692. And that's not the rank. That's part of the title is 1692.
It could be the rank.
But the rank is 1770. I really wish it was ranked 1692 because that would be incredible. Been perfect. But it's not.
They should pay BGG to rank them
Based off of the years. Yeah.
The integrity of the rankings would be out the door, Tyler. What are you talking about?
They're already kind of a joke.
Yeah, they are.
But Salem 1692, like I said, is a social deduction game. It's designed by Travis Hancock and published by Facade Games. This is in the vein of the it's part of a series that I'm neglecting the actual name of it. It's in the Dark City series. You've got Tortuga, you've got Deadwood, you've got a bunch of other ones.
Deadwood.
You've got a bunch of these in the Dark City series. This is by far of the ones that I've played my favorite one in the Dark City series. In this game, the thing that I think stands out about this social deduction game is that everybody is dealt 5 cards at the start of the game. These 5 cards have either witch or not a witch
I'm not a witch. I'm your wife.
I was going to say, please
And
insert
that's what
Carol
you said.
Kane
I'm not
in
sure I
there.
want to be that anymore.
Yeah, you can't play this game without quoting Carol Kane from Princess Bride. But you're either a witch or you're not a witch in this game. And if you have a witch card in your tableau of 5 cards at any point in the game, you are and will always be a witch for the rest of the game. So that not a witch or that witch card can be passed along from round to round to other players, because those 5 cards can get switched up and messed around so that people are drafting them and grabbing them. And some people can become witches throughout the game and others can't. The other part, the mechanism that's interesting, is that the vote of it, like the vote to eliminate players part of it, is done by cards. There are accusation cards that you can play with, and players are playing these accusation cards amongst other types of cards that help give you information about the game. But the accusation cards, you start putting them in front of people, and once a person has accumulated a certain number of accusation cards, they are now officially accused and are determined whether or not they're going to be eliminated, and have to determine if they are or ever have been a witch. If all the witches are eliminated in this game, then the villagers win. If everybody either becomes witches or they basically kill off everybody else, then the witches win this game. So I really enjoy this game. I think it's a really well done one. I've played this one with my family a lot. I've introduced players who have never played any form of board games to this game, and they've all enjoyed it and had a good time with it. I think this is a really good entry-level social deduction game that doesn't put a lot of pressure on players to have to lie if they don't want to, and it provides a mechanism for people to engage with the game without having to engage in the deception, which I think is really well done.
Well, I will not play this right away. Social deduction games.
I know,
not up my alley.
which is such a shame.
Every time we play a social deduction game, it's fun though.
Yeah, usually.
Remember the last one
every
we
time
played? What was
we
the last one we played?
Kevin almost always is like, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, I'm not a
Knights,
big
witches,
fan.
and ninjas or something.
Did you you played Blood on the Clock Tower, and I think had a better experience with that than some of the other ones.
Yeah, that was good. That one was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one had it. I mean, it has its issues, I think.
I agree.
I would never want to lead that game.
That's
like
the
you
hardest
did.
part about it. And I want to play the game,
Yeah.
but because I own it, I don't think I'll ever play the game. I'll
Just go to
leave
a
the
con
game.
and play it. People play that at a con.
Oh, that would be a
Yeah,
great
cons.
con.
I think it would be a phenomenal con game.
Nice.
So my number 4 draft picked is Salem 1692.
All right. So my number 4 draft pick is designed by Rainer Knizia, art done by Franz Vollwinkel. Love that name. And it's published by, I don't know why that's funny, but published by Rio Grande Games. You guys, any idea what this one is?
Hold on, I'm looking up Franz
Rio
Vollwinkel.
Grand Game.
Ranked 1,818.
You
This
realize
is-
you chose Reiner Knizia, which it could be
500,
800 different games.
So this is Raw, the dice game.
Oh.
So this game is really fun. The production on it's great. It's got a pretty small footprint. It's a small board. The dice are really cool. They're colorful. They're all, there's 5 different dice and they're all different colors. The game plays very similarly to Raw, except there's no auction. It's a dice game. So you're rolling the dice. You can build monuments just like in normal Raw. You have civilizations that you can build. You get more pharaohs throughout the game. You can get the Nile. You can build up the Nile. You have to flood the Nile just like in Raw. And it spans over 3 epochs. So it has all the bones of Raw, but it plays just a little bit different and you're rolling dice. So you have a Yahtzee mechanic where you roll dice and you can roll them up to 3 times. If you roll any sun symbols, you put them up on the Raw track, and that's how far Raw is going to move to signal the end of the game. If you roll more than 2, then you could trigger a disaster, and disasters will affect other players, which is kind of cool. So there's the decision to be made. I have 2 suns that are up there on the Raw track. Am I going to continue to roll and possibly trigger a disaster for the other players. I have, 2 of these civilization symbols. I need 3 of them in order to get a cube over here. Do I press my luck and try to roll again to get those symbols? Do I focus on monuments and trying to get 3 of the same monument, or diversify and get multiple monuments? Lot of similarities to the original version of Ra, but like I said, it plays a little bit different, and it's a lot of fun. Downside to this is this game is out of print. You can find it secondhand, probably for a slightly inflated price, but super fun. If you haven't played Ra the Dice Game and you have a chance to play it, I would highly recommend it. So that's my number 4 pick. My number 5 pick, I'm pretty sure you guys have not played this game. So this one is designed by, sorry, I'm going to butcher these names here, Guillaume Belossier and Frederick Henry. It's published by AEG, and this one is The Adventures, The Temple of Chak.
What?
Have you guys heard of this one?
Yeah. This game sounds like it's going to qualify as a real hidden gem.
Yeah, it probably is. It came out in 2009. This game is basically Indiana Jones, the board game.
What number is it?
It is ranked 1,713.
Wait, it's not Lost Ruins of Arnak?
No, this is another Indiana. This is actually more thematically tied to Indiana Jones. So you are in this temple of Chak, okay? And you are these.
I thought you said Chuck.
Oh, no, Chak.
It is Chak, though.
Yeah, it's Chak.
Sorry.
So you're these adventurers, okay? You start the game in this walled room. And this room, the walls are slowly coming in on you, okay? If you don't escape that room, you will get crushed and you will die. But there's a chance to get treasures. There's also these runes that you can explore that you need to memorize these runes in order to get over the lava room that's coming later, okay? There's also a boulder, and there's a boulder track that goes along the board. You can get crushed by the boulder. I think in turn 5, it reaches its cruising speed and starts going even faster. If the boulder gets to the end of this track, it will seal off the exit and you cannot leave the temple and you will die. So the whole point of the game is you're trying to get as much treasure as you can, and you get treasures in different ways, and you're trying to exit the temple with the most treasure. The trick is the more treasure you carry, the less actions you have, and you have a better chance of getting stuck in the building, in the temple, or getting crushed by the boulder. There's, like I said, the lava room, you can die there. There's a river you can go in to search for treasure, but you get to the end of the river, there's a waterfall, and you can fall off the waterfall and die. There's these little alcoves that you go in to try and get treasure. It's all dice-based, and you're trying to roll and get certain combinations of dice to get that treasure. It's super fun. Last time I played it with my daughter, I had too much treasure and the boulder crushed me, and she thought that was the funniest thing ever. And it really was. It was hilarious. Super fun game. Unfortunately, this one's out of print as well. I did look on the BGG listings. You can get it for a reasonable price secondhand. So if the theme sounds interesting, if you like Indiana Jones, I think it's a great one to have.
I had no idea this game existed, so it is a true hidden gem for me.
Hidden gem.
Same. Yep. It sounds like, what was the other game that you have, like the Adventures or something like that? That it seems like
this game is called The Adventures.
No, I mean, yeah, you're right. That is the one. I missed the first part of
this.
It.
Is what
I've seen the pictures.
Tyson, wake up!
I've seen the pictures of this that you posted on it recently, and it actually has the physical boulder in it, right?
It does.
And like it looks like fun components and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. It's got a pretty high toy factor, which is kind of cool. It's a lot of fun. There's another one in the series that came after this one as well, which I don't have and I haven't played, but I'd assume that was pretty fun too.
Is it the same type of theme?
I'm not even sure.
Or are they taking on Temple of Doom this time?
Yeah, right.
Like,
you're really drafting some brain burners. Your average complexity score across your 5 games is 1.554.
Yeah, I mean, there's some lighter games in here for sure. Okay, so the other one is The Adventures, The Pyramid of Horus. and that came out in 2011.
So that one's The Mummy. That's Brendan Fraser is what that one is.
It looks like it could be, right? Grab the treasure and run for it before the falling ceiling seals you in.
Yeah, that sounds exactly
That
like
sounds pretty cool as well. Yeah. Yeah. So my brain burning pick, number 5. It is The Adventurers, The Temple of Chuck.
Will you say that name one more time? Because apparently I didn't get it the first 2 times.
It is The Adventurers,
of Chuck.
The Temple of Chuck. Chuck, I think. Not Chuck.
See, that's what I was stuck on, was Chuck or Chuck.
Right.
All right. So I picked for my last pick a game that I was fairly certain neither of you would choose. As a game ranked 1,883. It is La Granja No Siesta.
I thought you were going to say Dragomino.
No, I don't think that's a hidden gem.
Dragomino.
Dragomino.
All right.
The La Granja No Siesta is a roll and write based on the big board game La Granja. And this is a game designed by Andreas Odenhall, and it's published by, my copy is published by Stronghold Games. I've recently found out that this was on Yucata as well, and so I started playing this game on Yucata with some random people just for fun, because this is a game that is, I think, really well done. It was probably the first roll and write that I ever played, and it was right before the big roll and write like craze where they were all coming out at multiple versions of roll and writes based off of the big box games. I know you mentioned, Kevin, already, Trois, the dice game, which is basically does what this does for La Granja. So in La Granja No Siesta, what you're doing is that you have a printed sheet of paper with different locations and goods on it. You have roof tiles at the top. You have deliveries that can be delivered by mules of different types of goods. You are rolling I believe it's 5 dice, depending on the player count, I believe. But you're rolling the dice and then selecting or drafting the dice based off of what you need. One face of the dice has 2 resources on it, but they're the lowest valued resource. I believe it's like an olive and a wheat, and then all the other dice have different ones. There are a couple of other resources in there that can do extra things, like there's a hat, like for the siesta hat that goes on the siesta track, and the game ends once somebody has collected a certain amount of siesta hats. But that's also allowing you to get these little placement discs that allow you to select additional goods. So if you're unlocking the siesta track, you're being able to collect more goods from round to round so that you can do more on your turn. You're crossing off different things on your page, and then once you've got everything done in a row, you can deliver those goods. And basically, when you deliver goods, it gives you the ability to unlock a new kind of ability that gives you extra stuff to be able to compound what you're doing. It's very like minimal in components and mechanisms, but they work really well together, I think. And I've enjoyed every single play I've played of this. And I think that for me, it's one of my favorite roll and write games that I've played, and I'd happily play this anytime. So for me, it's truly a hidden gem game. That's La Granja No Siesta.
There's some interesting things on here that are still available. That Resist is there.
Yep, saw that.
Undaunted Stalingrad is still there.
That's cheap pick.
I thought Resist was as well.
They're both cheap picks.
They're both cheap picks.
Yeah.
Like Stalingrad is rated
new.
8.8,
Yeah.
right? That there's no way.
Yeah. Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. I thought for sure Tyson would pick that one.
Yeah, I thought
Never even played Castles of Burgundy, so I
but we
couldn't.
still thought you'd
Sorry,
pick
I
it.
would have picked it otherwise.
So there's some other good ones out there. Sobek 2 players, Mountain Goats, Bananagrams, Pit.
Yep.
I'm not going with any of those. I'm going with a cheap pick, a la Tyson. And it's going to be tasty. Azul Master Chocolatier.
Oh, boo.
1696.
Here you
If
are.
Tyson can cheat, I can cheat.
This is
No.
this is
Let's look
more egregious than even Tyson's.
No way, dude.
Let's look at how
even
many
close.
times that you've cheated.
It
on
has
this list
different
versus
things
me.
in it. The revised edition of Arkham
It has
Horror.
a variant, that barely changes the rules.
Yep.
If you replace your pieces with actual pieces of chocolate, then I will allow you to pick this.
The only reason I will allow this is because I do want to see him actually try and eat the game.
That's true. It is an appropriate pick for Tyler
Yes,
in that
it
manner.
is.
That joke never gets old.
It really doesn't.
It won't.
It really doesn't.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, Azul. It's Azul,
Master Chocolatier.
yeah, with chocolate graphics and
Yeah. Which is basically normal Azul.
and the tiles that you draft from, or the little circle boards that they sit on, have special powers. And so it mixes it up quite a bit.
They do.
It's really
Quite a
completely
bit.
changes the
It's
game.
a different game entirely. In fact, you might even say it's a revised version of the game.
It's
I
actually.
mean, it's
a fun
not just
version.
a new redistribution of it. So it's better pick than your Arkham Horror.
You know
stuff.
what? That is true. So basically, your pick was a repackaging. They changed nothing. Nothing.
They picked a
At
different
least-
font or something, I'm sure. Come on.
No, nothing was changed. Tyler, there is new content.
The box
in
insert was
Azul
different
Master
in the
Chocolatier.
Arkham Horror. Come on.
Well, yes, the box maybe.
That's
They
like-
recycled all the
Which,
art,
in
I'm sure.
fact, I think is better than the original.
It's like picking the Lord of the Rings, the card game, the revised core set.
That's exactly what it is. Well, no, it's worse than that because in Lord of the Rings, they added a slight change they made it campaign, right? So they made rules changes. Yours had nothing that changed.
I don't know how this comes back to me after he's the one cheating. We've already established I cheated in the last
I'm only
episode.
cheating so that I can drop back to you.
I do think
So you're
Tyler's
not-
pick is better. Just
So
for
you're
the
not
record.
choosing a game for the sake of drafting a good game that's
Well,
a hidden gem. You're
would've-
doing it to screw with me. I
I would have
it.
picked Sobek 2 players, but I've talked about that recently, at least as early as late last year. I believe that was on my stocking stuffer pick or something like that.
It was.
So I think that's a fantastic game. I just want to drop back to Arkham Horror. I
know.
So Azul Master Chocolatier,
Good pick.
1696.
It is
Do not
it
capitulate. All right,
it is
do
a
not
good
give him-
game. Azul is one of my favorite games. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, so is Arkham Horror, you jerk.
This is true. Apparently, I just like giving you crap more than Tyler.
yeah.
I don't know. That's probably what it is.
Okay, so let's go over our picks. I feel like I have a weaker list than I did last episode, but
do
that's
too.
to be maybe
It's to
expected.
be expected. We're getting into the more hidden gems.
I don't think
Right.
I've got a strong list of games that if we were asked to have a game day on, I would play all of these happily.
And like mine, I think we'd have fun playing my games as well. We could get them all played in probably a half hour.
We could simultaneously.
Yeah,
But
right.
not if you throw actual patchwork in there, you wouldn't. You'd have a little bit more.
That was on.
That was
Played
on what
Lately.
I've been played lately. What we've been playing lately. So
That's true. That's
It's not-
even
not
on
the
this
top
list.
five.
Have you had a long day?
Yeah, I drove 6 hours in a car. It's been a real long day.
all right, so let's recap.
All right, Kevin, you go first since you picked first.
Okay, my number one pick was Twa Dice. Number two pick was I believe Taco Cat.
Llama.
Oh, sorry, that was an audible because it was picked. So number two pick was Llama. Number three pick was Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. 4 pick Raw the Dice Game, and my 5th pick was The Adventures, the Temple of
Chuck.
Chuck. Something
One
like
of
that.
those things.
All right, Tyson. What?
I first drafted Star Wars Jabba Palace, the love letter game. Then I did After the Empire, The Expanse board game, Salem 1692, and finally La Granja No Siesta.
All right, so and I picked Hobbit Love Letter, The Battle of the Five Armies, Tabanusi, Builders of Ur, Beyond Balderdash, Ride the Hobos to the Rails, Ride the Rails, and Azul Master Chocolatier.
There is a better chocolate game out there in this range that I think would have actually been a good pick. Is one that I was going to pick was Chocolate Factory. and I think that game is
That's
worth mentioning.
better than Azul Master Chocolatier.
No, a better pick.
For the category.
A better pick. Not necessarily a better game.
A more legitimate pick, he's saying.
But I think that was a better
get off
pick.
your high horse there, Mr. Arkham Horror. What were some...
You only picked that so you could screw with me.
Moving on.
Yeah.
We'll do some honorable mentions.
Yeah, so I've kind of mentioned mine.
Yeah.
Pit, Bananagrams, Mountain Goats, and Sobek 2 players. And then, of course, Resist and Undaunted Stalingrad, which are moving up the list and
At a rapid pace. Yeah, right. So I've got Bang. That was on my list. I mean, I have fond memories of playing Bang. I don't think it holds up well now, but I did enjoy it quite a bit way back in the day. I've got Bang the Bullet.
I've got the bullet one.
As do I.
Yep.
And I got stopped in the airport with that one once.
Because they thought I was a real bullet.
Yeah, they thought, or some sort of
It was
explosive
Carrying a
device.
50-pound munition.
Yeah,
right. Clearly. Tyler mentioned Resist. Ice Cool 2
Oh,
I saw that.
is in the range. I thought that was kind of a...
That would have been a cheap hit.
Little cheap.
I picked
because it was
Ice
picked
Cool last
Ice School last
episode.
time, and I would have been all over that one too.
Tyler mentioned Mountain Goats. Wasabi is one that I've enjoyed. Mamma Mia, that's a kind of a quick a memory type card game where you're building pizzas. Archaeology, the card game, is another one in that range, which I've had fun with. Haven't played it for a long time, but that's a good one. So quite a few honorable mentions for me.
Yeah.
Vast, the Mysterious Manor.
I saw that and I couldn't pick it because I've only played Vast,
Me
the
too.
Crystal Caverns.
Yep.
And so I wanted to pick that one, but I hadn't played it, so I couldn't say that. But the other ones that you guys haven't mentioned that remain on my list that I didn't was Chocolate Factory, which I've already just mentioned, but also Space Station Phoenix.
Oh, yes.
Which you guys just give a hard time because you were
You know
button
what?
pressing.
I think I set up a time to play that at Gen Con.
Oh, you did?
I did. Yeah. Because I think it could be a great game. It's just tough to learn games on BGA,
Absolutely.
right? So I would really enjoy, I think, learning how to play
I
it.
look forward to your experience.
And then actually playing it on the table and then getting it played on BGA.
Have you signed up for a lot of stuff?
No, I have not.
So the only other one that I'll mention that wasn't mentioned was Dutch Blitz, which is in this range. It's a classic card game. It comes in a lot of different varieties of this game. I think Wacky Sixes, Nerds, Pounce. Yeah, there's a lot of different names for this game. And it's packaged in a lot of different ways, but I think it's a fun game. For me, though, what I made this list because it's got that speed element in the game that I don't really always love. That if somebody's faster at doing something and processing information than you, they're going to win. But I think it's a really good, fun game, especially if you like that style of game.
There's another light card game, Skyjo. Have you guys ever played that?
Have
I
not.
don't even think I've heard of it.
So if you played golf with a regular deck of cards or Cabo or Silver from Bezier Games where you're trying to score the fewest number of points, Skyjo is a little bit different. You have a 3x4 grid of cards in front of you that you're trying to score as fewest points as possible by drawing a card and replacing cards and flipping over cards. So that's another one.
Quite a few hidden gems.
Yeah.
Cool.
Again, I think this is the same thing that we kind of mentioned in the last episode when we ended. Once you get outside of that 1,000 range of games, that 1 to 1,000 range of games, there's still so many good games out there that you could probably have a bunch of different games that are well beyond this 1,000 to 2,000 range and that are really good games. I know I've got some, but I don't know that we're going to continue this drafting of
Next episode, 2,000 to
2,000 to 20,000.
Maybe revisit in a couple months or something.
Yeah.
We'll do a part 3 and it's like 2,000 plus.
We do a series and we end at like 10,000. In other news, nobody else is listening. Yeah, right. Do we want to talk about anything we're excited about?
I've got something.
Why don't you go first, Tyson?
Yeah. The thing that I'm excited about is it's a game that is on the hotness as of like this week, and it was announced as of the recording of this podcast pretty recently. It's in the Gloomhaven series, and the game that I'm talking about is Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs.
Weird name.
It is a weird name. I thought that too. It's based off of a fan-made game called Gloomholden, which I actually think is a better name. But like Gloomholden was a one-player only micro-sized version of Gloomhaven in which you could play it in your hand, but it was a print and play only version of this game. But Buttons and Bugs is the official version of this game that now Cephalofair Games is actually publishing, and it's in their backer kit crowdfunding campaign that's going on right now, and I believe that ends July 19th, that campaign, and you can buy this game for $15 on backer kit, but essentially you're playing Gloomhaven in a very small package, and what I think is really interesting about it is that they've taken the idea of this is a small micro-sized version of Gloomhaven, and they've really capitalized on it and taken the theme of the game and made it Honey, I Shrunk the mercenaries in this game, because the actual story is that they're walking through Hale, who is one of the main characters in Gloomhaven's apartment or her home, whatever. And as they cross the threshold to harass her to give them fame and fortune and glory, she's got a hex that's on it that shrinks everybody down, and they have to basically cross the street and go on a series of adventures to get full sized again. And that's what the game is about. So it's kind of interesting and cute.
Going on an adventure.
It's very it's even smaller than a Hobbit actually, but I'm excited because I love Gloomhaven and I would love to play more Gloomhaven. I just don't think that I'm ever going to get another campaign of Gloomhaven going. But I do see myself being able to play this solo, especially with the smaller footprint. And it's got a lot of stuff that I like. And it has the same mechanisms, more or less, that Gloomhaven has in the top bottom of the cards and using the initiative and things like that I think is fun.
I think it looks cool. You say all the time, like, I don't think ever going to get this to the table. You have 3 young boys that are going to get older eventually, and you're going to...
It's going to be a decade at least before that.
There is some exploration that's going to happen with some amazing games from the past, I would think.
I hope
if any of them turn out
to want to play the games. I agree.
Yeah, like... You have a whole world to explore, and it'll be akin to like sharing movies from the 80s with your kids, right? Kevin knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. You got to go back and see all the classics.
Speaking of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, we just watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with my kids, and that was made in the 80s, and one of my favorite childhood movies that I watched and shared that. So Honey, I Shrunk the Mercenaries is right up there for me as well.
Yeah, it's a natural transition.
Yeah.
I've got this golden age of gaming right now with my teenage son, and it's fantastic. And then I've got one in waiting who's...
That's going to be a while. But
it's going to be a while. But if he's a gamer too, then boom, struck gold. Yeah. So, I mean, I struck gold either way, but...
Yeah, I'm glad that that's not the sole qualifier. It's not like a good child.
No, it's not. Just the fact that he exists is just amazing and a miracle. So, yeah. Cool. What are you excited about, Tyson? Kevin?
Well, hi, Tyler. My name's Kevin.
I've been called Tyson before, too.
Yes,
I don't want to hear it.
I know. It's deep. I'm deeply offended, but that's fine. It's fine. So I don't have a particular game or anything that I'm super excited about. I'm heading out on vacation next week. The sole purpose of this vacation is to go hang out at a lake and then play board games all week. Awesome. I'm just super excited to go do that.
Sounds like a great purpose.
Yeah, it's going to be, and eat good food. Like, wow.
What more could you ask for?
Right? What more can you ask for? Play on the lake, play board games, and eat good food. I'm super excited to go do that. So we're getting a list together of all of the games that we want to take. The only downside for me is I'm very limited on space because for some crazy reason we got a new dog. So we have
you take your dogs with you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's really fun to have the dogs up at the lake. So we're going to have limited space. I got to prioritize what games I take, but
Do you have like a
we're gonna have a
car
lot of good
topper
ones.
thing?
We do.
Okay, I was going to offer.
I
ours,
also
but-
have 3 children, and they need things too. So
debatable.
So we got something on top of the car, and then we have something on the back of the car, and then
Do you put your bikes on there too?
No, I don't have room for the bikes, and there's not a lot of good trails to ride up there anywhere where we're going. But excited, get some games played. I'll probably play a little bit of Undaunted. And a whole bunch of other games.
I'm excited for you to have more games to talk about than just Patchwork Express.
Well, I've been really busy at work, the past few weeks, and it's been a little slim on games. But I had the same problem that you had, right? I've played a lot of Undaunted lately. So can't really talk about that until the next episode. So we'll have a lot to say about that one for sure.
So that's awesome. I'm excited to hear about all the games you get to play. It makes me think of us doing a cabin con, hopefully in November maybe. And that just makes me super excited. Just the thought of just playing games for 3 days and eating Ben's lasagna and Mark's brisket, if we could get him to do that. Or
wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
We at least had that during our prep meeting
right
last time. But a game I'm excited about was recently announced by CMON. The next game that's going to Kickstarter from them is Mordred, and I watched the video. I have looked at some of the game art that's been made available, and it looks like a beautiful game. It takes place after King Arthur is vanished. There's the merging the Fey realm with Britain, and asymmetrical powers are trying to take over Mordred, Morgana, and Merlin.
There's a theme here, and it follows the area control theme of other games.
It feels like a CMON game without
Eric
Lane, but it still has Adrian Smith art in this. Which
did you guys watch the video though?
I did watch
it looks
the video.
Where like the board flips over and
I
expands.
thought that was such a cool, kind of a gimmick kind of mechanic that I hope
is more than just a gimmick.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm definitely, my interest is piqued on this one. I'm not going to be backing it day one or anything, but I'm definitely going to check it out.
You ready to spend $250 on the all-in pledge?
How many expansions can you add to this? I mean,
they'll find a way.
I can answer that question. Exhibit A is Blood Rage. Look at
Rising Sun.
I get that.
God's
but
Legion.
they recently did, and I know this was straight to retail, but Stranger Things, it's just one and done.
But I think if it's a area control,
that it's not a
big
existing
box
IP.
Game, they're gonna
I'm
expand the heck out of
excited
it.
to find out what they do with it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome. I hope you back it for sure.
You mentioned the video. Like I watched the video, and then I also decided, I love these styles of game, and I love Blood Rage, and I went and I bought some Blood Rage expansions and content and stuff.
Nice.
So I have some new Blood Rage content.
We need to get that to the table.
I agree.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We have a friend, Doug, who played with Kevin and I a couple of years ago, and I was talking to him the other day, and he's like, I haven't been able to make it out to a board game night in a long time, but I really want to play Blood Rage again with you guys.
That game was so fun.
All right, I'm buying more content, and we're going to get Blood Rage played again. So that's my goal.
Yeah, let's do it.
But Mordred is like, part of that is that I'm hoping it's as good as the Blood Rage, Rising Sun, Ankh games, and that it continues, even though Eric Lang's not the one who's designing this one.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited to see the campaign. I think it will probably start before this episode airs. If it doesn't, it'll be shortly after. So I'm excited for that from CMON.
Awesome.
I think that wraps up our episode. I've got family coming into town. Tyson, you got family coming into town.
It's that time of year.
We canceled big board game night this weekend. Hopefully play some games with family while Kevin's playing at the lake with his family.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
We'll have some
good games on the horizon.
Yeah.
Much needed break. I think. It's going to be good.
Nice. We got Undaunted coming up.
Yep. You'll want to listen to this one, I think. We got some good stuff coming up on this one.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Join our Discord.
Buy us a wooden egg on Buy Me a Coffee. Tyler needs some more snacks.
Snacks to chew on, yeah. You thought that was only once in this episode we were going to do?
For the record,
But seriously,
I added that name as the donation level so I can laugh at myself.
You can laugh at yourself. Yeah. But seriously, if you do want to support the show, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Or rate us on iTunes.
Exactly.
Favorably, preferably.
Yeah. We appreciate all the ratings, but we hope it's a positive one.
We're always trying to do things to grow our audience. And because we want to keep doing this and we enjoy doing it. And
absolutely.
It's motivating when we get to hear from new people who enjoy the show. So,
yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more Longest Turn in your life, please check us out on Instagram. Also, be sure to check us out on Board Game Geek, where you can join our guild, Guild 3947, and check out our blog, where we post all our show notes and occasionally post more detailed reviews. If that's not enough for you, we have a Discord server. If you want to play a game with us on Board Game Arena, join our Board Game Arena group, The Longest Turn. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Told Saints.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Had some good hits. Struggled with the driver in the middle of the round, but other than that, it was awesome.
Last time I went, I hit cranes and buildings, so it was a real good time.
I've done that.
Buildings.
Cranes?
Bird
I'm
murderer.
I hit a bird. I mean, like a crane, like a.
I know. Like a what?
Is that the crane?
That's the crane noise.
That's the crane visual?
Yeah,
that's what we're going with?
It's a mechanical crane. Another, the animal crane would sound very different. Why don't you give us a sample, Tyler?
There we go. That was almost identical. We've had experience with murdering cranes, apparently.
Yeah. Murdering cranes sounds
You ever
like
seen what the Randy Johnson pitch that just obliterates the bird that flies in front of it?
It's just like a ball of feathers. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
The big unit, because Randy and Johnson wasn't enough.
The big unit. Yes, it's gonna take number one for sure.
Welcome. No, I got the other voice going.
Welcome.
Let me get out of my system.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Welcome to nope. Okay. All right. Welcome. Nope. Welcome
to the soothing sounds of Longest Turn.
That's a Cable Guy quote. All right.
The fact that you like that movie,
The fact that it's been quoted probably at least half of our podcast.
Tyler's the most critical person of movies that I've ever met in my life, and he loves Cable Guy. Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't.
Whoa, that's my stomach, my friends. I've been growling all night.
So everything that we've been talking about this episode that we can talk about, that wraps it up, right? Does that qualify? Does that work for you?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm bloated.
Yeah,
a little gassy, and I'm energized by it.
We got some surprises in the Undaunted episode.
Yeah. Should we announce them right now?
We can?
No,
I
don't know.
It's something like the something series, Terrible Cities series or something like that. I can't remember. But point is, each of these games, Dark Cities.
Way to do your research.
It's the Dark Cities series.
There you go.
we go.